our channel. My name is Hafsa Salim. In my hands here I have Magnolia. She's one of our baby chicks. She's a speckled sussex breed in case you're wondering. Have you been thinking about getting backyard chickens for yourself? Well, in this video I'm going to cover 7 questions to ask yourself if you are. They are intended for people who have never owned chickens before, and they're simply in the order that we thought was appropriate. If you're interested in learning more about backyard farming and raising chickens, then click on the subscribe link below. The first question to ask yourself is, am I allowed to have chickens where I live? Where we are, which is in farm country, rural Virginia, it is extremely normal to have chickens as well as other livestock. But I grew up in a suburb right outside of New York City, and I didn't know anybody in my area who had chickens. One of the reasons why is because some areas do not allow having chickens, and some areas do have some rules regarding it. And this really only applies to people that are in the suburbs, in a major city, any highly populated area. One rule you might encounter is some areas are okay with you having hens, but not having roosters, because roosters are extremely loud from early in the morning and throughout the day. If you're getting chickens because you simply want eggs, good news is you don't need a rooster to have eggs every day. Roosters are only for breeding. Another rule you might encounter is most areas require you to place your chicken coop at least 20 to 25 feet away from your house, which would mean that you have to have the space to do that. And lastly, they want to make sure that you have a fenced-in area around where your chickens are, because they don't want them to wander off into someone else's property or onto the street. So check first with your municipality, your county, your association, if you're a part of one, what the rules are with regards to having chickens. The second question to ask yourself is, do I have enough space for my chickens? I already mentioned that the chicken coop should be placed a good distance from your house, a minimum of 20 to 25 feet. Whether there is a rule in your area or not for that, it's important to have that space, but it goes beyond that. Within the chicken coop, each chicken needs to have at least 2 to 3 square feet at a bare minimum. Outside of the coop throughout the day, whether you have them in a chicken run, which is simply an enclosure attached to the chicken coop which has free airflow, or you have them running freely in your yard or in your field, they need to have 8 to 10 square feet each during the day. Now that is the bare minimum. Obviously, if you can provide more space throughout the day for them, a larger coop for them, you will have healthier chickens and you will have happier chickens. Let me explain. If chickens are too confined within their coop or even outdoors in the run, or if the yard is too small for them, they become extremely stressed out, and it can lead to them pecking one another. When that happens, it can become very ugly, because chickens can get pretty violent with one another even if they're just hens. So to avoid that situation, provide them with more than enough space to keep them happy. And on a health side, they have a lot of droppings which can easily get into their feed, get into their water, depending on the setup that you have for them. And if you're not getting in there often enough, once or twice a day to clean up after them, it can become very messy, very unhealthy. Their droppings also attract a lot of flies and have a very strong odor, so it's a lot easier to simply give them more space and avoid those kinds of situations. If you have your chickens roaming freely on your property, in your backyard, in a field, whatever you have, and you also have a vegetable garden or a flower bed in that area, you need to fence that area off, have an enclosure around your garden, because chickens forage throughout the day. They dig, they scratch, they look for bugs, for worms all day long, because that's what they love to eat. So if you don't have an enclosure around your garden, they will get in there, they will dig, and unfortunately they will pull out plants that you've worked so hard to grow. Even if you just have mulch on top, they will kick it all away and you will be left with a mess everywhere. It's a lot easier just to enclose it. And lastly, chickens, if they have too small a space to forage in, you'll end up with bald spots all over your yard. So it's a lot easier to start with a few chickens, see how it goes. Start with 2 to 3. See how they do in the space that you have. If you have more space, naturally you can get more chickens. So the third question to ask yourself is, why do I want to get chickens? This is an important question because it makes a difference on the kind of breed of chicken that you're going to get. Now, there's actually a couple different reasons why, though, people get chickens. The first reason is they actually make hilarious pets. I did not know this until we first got our chickens. They literally follow us wherever we go. If I'm on one end of the field, they will come and follow me. When we call, they come running to us. When we're sitting outside, they come and sit at our feet. My husband likes to say they're kind of a mix between a dog and a bird because they're so social. They love people, they love attention, but yet they also produce eggs. So you might be thinking, hey, I want to get a chicken as a pet. Go for it. They're hilarious. The second reason that people get chickens, which is a much more common reason, which is the reason that we got our chickens initially, is to have fresh eggs every single day and to eliminate buying them from a store. Also because you know what goes into your chicken with their feed and that they're truly free range if you're having that setup. So if that is the reason why you're getting chickens, there are certain breeds of chickens which produce a lot more eggs per year than other breeds. Some breeds have 250 eggs a year, some 280, some 300 eggs a year, some even more than that. And I will link in the description section a couple different breeds that are better for egg production. Some chickens also produce all sorts of different color eggs. You have white and different shades of brown, you have green and blue. There's a plethora of different color eggs that you can get with different breeds. So if you are getting chickens because you want eggs, also realize that you need to have more chickens than you have people in your household. A good rule of thumb is have 2 chickens per person, even if you have chickens that are high egg layers or high production. There might be some times where they're thrown off and they're not laying as much. It might be weather that's straining them. Anything that stresses them out can lower their number of eggs that they are producing. Now, if you're getting chickens because you want your own meat, you know that you fed those chickens whatever it is that you're providing them, they were truly free range. Some breeds of chicken are better for meat. So again, you want to do your research to see which chickens would be better for that. And again, I will link in the description which breeds, a couple of them, not all of them, are better for that. And then there's some breeds that are great for both. They're great for eggs as well as meat. Now, there are over 500 different breeds of chickens, so it's important to do your research and also see what's available, what you have access to in your area. And the last reason why people get chickens is because they are looking to start a chicken farm. Now, we have visited a chicken farm. That's where we picked up our chickens, our adults, as well as our chicks. And it is a very fun place if you like animals, but it is a lot of work. So it's a lot easier if you start with a few different breeds. If you are doing it to breed them, each group that you are putting together, they need their own space. They need to have their own section so that they don't get mixed up, because you don't want different breeds being put together because they're roaming freely in the same area. So keep this all in mind when thinking about getting your chicken. The fourth question to ask yourself is, am I willing to wait to get eggs? And the reason why this question is important is because usually chickens take at least around 5 months to start laying their first eggs. So you have a choice. You can either buy chickens that are already adults that have already been laying for some time, or you can buy day-old chicks or a few weeks old and go through that process, see them grow, wait 5 months or more for them to start laying. What we did when we initially started with our chickens, we didn't want to wait. So we got our chickens already adults who had already been laying for a few months. So when we brought them back, the next morning we already had our first few eggs. After some time though, we went back and we got chicks so that we could go through the process with them of seeing them grow up. Naturally, there is a difference in time as well as cost, because if you are getting chicks day old or a few weeks old, there's more cost involved. You have chick feed. You have different things that you need for your chicks as they're growing. They have different types of food. They have different needs as chicks naturally, and to have them be healthy, you want to provide that for them. So take this into consideration when getting your chicks. Are you looking to get chickens that are already laying right now, or chicks and you're willing to wait and go through that process with them? The fifth question to ask yourself is, what will it cost me? Now, this is a very important question because some people think that if they get chickens, they're going to save money on buying eggs every week and it'll be enough and they'll break even. It doesn't work that way. Chickens actually do cost a bit of money, not just for the chickens alone, but to give them a proper home, a proper environment. If you're getting them as chicks, the first few weeks they have to be indoors. In most places, it is simply too cold, especially at night for chicks, to be in any outdoor enclosure. When they are first born, they need to be under a heat lamp of 100 degrees because that's what they are used to with their mother hen. And every week you can decrease the heat on the heat lamp by 5 degrees. After a few weeks, depending on where you are in the world, they will be ready for the outdoors. But again, the first few weeks they need to be in an enclosure inside, whether it's in your home, in a garage, in a barn, whatever you have, a small enclosure. Usually you can find online or in a store a large silver tub that is specific for chicks, and you want to layer it with something on the ground like pine shavings to keep it nice and dry and comfy for them. Chicks also have specific waterers and feeders specifically for them. You cannot give chicks or chickens a bowl of water or a bowl or plate of feed because they will knock it over. They scratch constantly and you will have a mess everywhere if you do that. The good news is the feeders and the waterers only cost a few dollars. You just have to go to the right places online or in a store that have supplies for chickens and get the right stuff from day one. Also, chicks as well as chickens have supplements, things to help keep them healthy, like electrolytes or probiotics. Those things are pretty inexpensive. For adult chickens, obviously you need to have a coop. It is extremely important that they have a space, an enclosure for them at night that is safe, that is dry, and also is dark. Now, there's all sorts of different coops out there. At a bare minimum, if you're buying a coop, it's going to cost you around $300 or more. If you go on the route of, hey, I want to build a coop, by all means you can do that. You'll save some money doing that, but it is a bit of work, and if you've never done something like that before, a lot easier in my opinion to just buy it when you're first starting out. And if you are getting a pen for them instead of a traditional chicken coop like the one behind me, as long as you throw a tarp on it at night so that keeps them dry, keeps them safe. They like to sleep in the dark. Your chickens are already laying or about to start laying. They need to have a separate space called a nesting box where they lay their eggs. You don't want your chickens sleeping in the same area where they're laying their eggs. It should be a separate designated area. If you're buying a chicken coop, most or all chicken coops already have the nesting boxes attached on one side or both sides of the chicken coop to make it easy. And again, you want to line that chicken coop with something that is soft and dry. We personally use very fine pine shavings. That's what we like to go with. But there's a lot of other things out there available on the market. The sixth question to ask yourself is, can I protect my chickens from predators? You may not realize this, but chickens have a lot of predators. Some of them will go after your chickens for food. Some of them will go after them simply for sport. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. So you have to do the best that you can in protecting them by obviously, number one, having a fence around the area where they are, having a strong coop for them or a pen for them. If the coop is directly on the floor, you can have hardware cloth along the edge of the coop that's dug a foot or 2 feet into the ground so the animals can't burrow their way up into the coop. So some animals that go after chickens are raccoons, possums, skunks, weasels, foxes, coyotes, birds of prey like hawks, even snakes will go after them for the eggs. So if you have any of these animals in your area, realize that they are probably going to be eyeing your chickens at some point and may try to go after them. Once in a while, if you have bears in your area, even bears will try to attack your chickens. Now, outside of predators, you also have to keep in mind the weather. If you live in an area that has many storms, whether it's tropical storms, hurricanes, snowstorms, again, you want to make sure that you have a safe area to protect your chickens, help keep them dry, keep them warm. Do the best that you can in setting up a proper environment to protect them. The seventh question to ask yourself is, am I committed? Am I committed to taking care of my chickens? Chickens do require tending to, and depending on the setup that you have, for most people, You have to check on them every day. Let them out in the morning, put them away at night. If you have a coop, you could buy a coop or build a coop that has an automated door that lets them in and out at a certain time. You could do that as well. It's less work, but there's no guarantee that they all go in at the same exact time when you lock that door. What we personally do is every morning, early morning around sunrise or before sunrise, we come out to their coop, to the free-range adults. Usually they're screaming to let them out. Let them out, make sure that they have feed, check their water, make sure they have clean water. Throughout the day, they're free-range, they forage, and then around sunset, they all go in on their own. Now, sometimes some of our hens don't like going in on their own, and we have to physically pick them up and put them into the coop, lock that door behind them, make sure the other door on the other side is also locked, and we have a nesting box that opens up naturally. We put an extra lock on that as well. If you are traveling, realize that you can't leave your chickens alone for more than 3 to 4 days. Somebody has to check on them, make sure that they're still safe, make sure they have enough water and enough feed. If you are going to be traveling for longer than that, then you simply need to make arrangements to make sure someone can go and check on them. So after going through those 7 questions, ask yourself, am I ready to get chickens? Hope this information has been helpful to you in making that decision. I will leave some links in the description box below for additional reference. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for our future videos.